is a Full and Bloom interview with producer Tom Werman. More info at fullandbloom.com. So, to just get right to it, Twisted Sister frontman Dee Snider recently was on a show and went public with some more Tom Werman bashing. What do you think about all that?
You know, it's kind of a mystery. Here it is, 34 years later? Was it 1985 maybe, or 84?
84.
Maybe 36 years?
Yeah, 84, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so 36 years since we made that record. There are several things he's ignoring, avoiding, omitting. One is that no producer, maybe Quincy Jones, could have that kind of influence, that kind of power. When an independent producer is hired by a label or a band, he is not deputized to, is not given the authority to decide which songs are recorded. It's a cooperative venture. Now, there's probably a very good chance that when they played me the demos of "We're Not Gonna Take It," I said, it sounds a little bit like a nursery rhyme, definitely catchy, but I probably needed a little bit of convincing. Getting down on his knees and begging? No. So, it's the dramatization and the embroidering and the embellishment of the actual facts that's really sleazy, and it's very Trumpian. That's the way he operates. Dee Snider was there for the mixes. Dee Snider approved every single mix. So really, if he doesn't like the album, it's just as much his fault as it might be mine. So, he blames somebody else. Gee, who else blames somebody else for everything that's happening? Dee seems like a Trump disciple. He does everything that Donald Trump does that's despicable. Well, not everything. But, there you go. There's no question that my approach to music, to recorded music, was more pop. But that's what worked. That's what got people on the radio. That's why Surrender was a hit. That's why Cat Scratch Fever was a hit. That's why I made hit singles. That was the only way to sell millions of albums, which would have been confined or restricted to FM play only. He's got one of the most licensed songs in the history of recorded music, probably. And he's bitching and bitching and bitching. He's, oh God, he's this and he's that. I don't know. I mean, it is mysterious to me. I will say that during the album, he was really nice. He's very agreeable, friendly, and he had a good attitude. He wasn't unhappy in the studio. He didn't complain in the studio. He didn't pace back and forth in frustration. He worked just as they all did. All the other guys in the band worked. Everybody was going forward. And the minute that album was delivered, he started with the acid. We went up, I took my baby, my little girl at the time, and my wife, and we went up to New Hampshire to see their first show after the recording. It was boiling hot. It was about 90 degrees, full sun, outdoor gig. And we went up to see them, to support them, because, they were playing live. I wanted to see them live again. I'd only seen them live once. So after the show, we're waiting by their bus to go in and say hi. He knows we're out there, and he won't even open the door to the bus. Makes us sit there for 30, 40 minutes in the blazing sun, assuming that we could go in and just say hi. Just say hi. No, not Dee. No, he's got to make you suffer. Just don't understand it. But I have to assume that the guy has major issues. Somebody sent me his book. And in his book, he says, I'm not going to quote it, I'm sure, but he says something close to, Tom Werman personally destroyed our album. He personally destroyed it. And to which I can only reply, and so what happened to it? Well, if I destroyed it, I guess it didn't work. I guess it was unpopular. It didn't sell. As I said, when I replied to Blabbermouth, that song and that album made him a multimillionaire for life. and he's pissed. What is that about? What could that be about? You know?
Right.
It's just a strange thing. And what happened? What happened to the next album? Dieter Dierks, good producer, very successful producer. They want to go with a different producer. They go with him. What happens? Gee, a stiff record. Well, you never hear him talk about that. I don't know exactly why I'm being, flailed and punished and beaten verbally by Dee for even working on with them a huge hit album worldwide. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, really. Somebody says, geez, I really wish the sound on that album would have been harder, tougher, more aggressive, more bottom. Fine. Hey, I can take it. I'm a grown-up. I'm not perfect. I did pretty good work. But, yeah, sure, I can see you disagreeing with the sonic avenue I chose. To say the things that he says, he's got an issue with me. He's got an issue. It's like I insulted his wife or something. I just don't get it. So let him go. As I said, please, Dee, give it a rest and enjoy your privileged life. I can't make heads or tails out of it, but I can only respond to it. Believe me, I don't stay up nights worrying about it.
We've talked about this before, but it was Doug Morris that came to you, and
right.
Kind of your thing was, when they approached you, was to try to, like when you did Shout at the Devil or Motley Crue's other albums, is to take this heavier product and make it more accessible.
And that's the way I would put it. I think that's a nice way of putting it. I tried to separate the wheat from the chaff and get rid of the weak parts of a song and exploit the strong parts. And, with all of these guys, all the bands that I worked with, Ted, Cheap Trick, Molly Hatchet, Motley, Twisted Sister, Kicks, L.A. Guns, Poison, I did the same thing with all of them, really. I didn't make the same record with all of them. I didn't treat the songs the same way, but I produced the stuff so that it caught your ear. You'd sing it in the shower. I produced it so it would be a commercial hit. If I hadn't, just think what Dee would have said about me then. Not only did this guy destroy our album, it didn't sell. I mean, where are you gonna turn with this guy? So that's it. The rest of the guys were great. JJ was good. Sorry to see AJ die so young, but these were good guys. Mark, the Animal, they were really nice guys and funny. Dee was a two-faced, backslapping con man. I've never seen anybody quite so surprisingly hypocritical.
And you let the guys play their guitars too. As far as when I talked to Bo about the Twisted Sister record he did, he said that he had the guy from Winger come in and play all the solos. You let them play on that album, right?
We had no ringers on that album. I spent 3 days trying to get a good rhythm guitar sound for JJ. We were all struggling then. I didn't even want to get out of bed the third day, but we did. We did get it. The guys did not leave the studio shaking their heads in disgust. I always had a policy of sending the final mixes, either having one of the band there to approve it, a designated guy from the band, in the studio to listen to the final mixes before I mastered. Or, if they were on the road, I made a cassette of the final mixes and sent it out to them to approve. And they were all approved. If a band didn't approve of a final mix, I remixed it until they did. So, hey, look, you got me.
Can you also explain who chooses the songs, the song selection for the albums?
Well, I think that's a cooperative venture between the band and the producer. I mean, if the producer doesn't think it's a great song, he'll try to persuade the band not to record it. Yeah, I can make mistakes, no question about it. There may be a song that I didn't put on some album I produced that could have been a very big hit. But he just beats this one to death. Hey, the guy didn't even want to do, we're not going to take it. And he does exaggerate my negative response to that song. He really does. I admit it. I probably, although I can't remember, I probably said, I'm not wild about this song. I thought the other stuff was really good. I mean, the Captain Howdy trilogy, Dee wrote some great stuff.
Right.
And it was very imaginative and very clever, and his lyrics were very good. I mean, we're not going to take it. Really, is quite a very simple composition next to the other stuff on that album. But I'm just, as far as my responsibility and my job performance, I think I did a pretty good job making a successful record. That's as far as it goes. Did people hear that song and other songs on the album and say, "I'm not buying that record"? No. They heard the songs on that record on the radio, and they said, "I really like that. I think I'll buy that record." And probably about 7 or 8 million people so far have bought that record. I know it sold 5 million by a couple of decades ago. I don't get current figures. I know they're still a big band in Europe, and I know that record that it gets streamed a lot. The songs from that record, yeah. The other guys are probably doing all right, but I wouldn't be surprised if once or twice a day Dee stopped to think about me and said, "Damn that guy. Boy, do I hate that guy." And I feel bad for him. He should enjoy himself and stop carrying me around as an oppressive hate object.
I've asked you about your points, and you had told me you get 4 points on a record, and he had brought up that you got 8 points on that record.
Yeah, really. If I got 8 points on that record, I'd be making about 75 cents a record. That would be really nice. Really nice. No, 4 points is, and that's wholesale, I believe. Anyway, 4 points was the most any producer I ever heard of getting paid. I got 3 when I was working or 2 when I was working at CBS. I got 12 cents a record when I did the Molly Hatchet records, the Cheap Trick records, the Ted Nugent record. I got a nickel for Ted. We sold 8 million records, Ted and I. He got an artist royalty. I got a nickel.
Wow.
Anyway.
And then your point structure, points went up on Motley Crue. Is that when they started to go up?
Yes, because I had left CBS, and that Motley Crue was my first project after I left CBS. And so I started making the same thing that other successful independent producers made. I didn't get any special treatment. I got a good royalty. I got what I deserved for my track record. People hired me. They said, "We expect to get a hit from this guy because he's made a lot of hits."
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I can't really apologize to Dee for too much. I was just absolutely stunned and puzzled by the 180 he did. Kind of from glad handing to flipping me off, in an instant. I don't think about it. I got to tell you, I don't think about it. But when he does this, which he apparently feels compelled to do from time to time, 34 years later, when he does it, I will respond because I'm hoping that people who read it and assume that what he's saying is true, that reflects very poorly on me. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to hear my side. And what I said is true. I heard that he was trash talking me on his radio show. I'd never heard his radio show, but I heard that he had one. And so I found out how to contact him. And I sent him 2 emails, which he will, of course, say, "Well, I never got any emails from Werman." I sent him 2 emails saying, I understand you have, some bad things to say, some uncomplimentary things to say about me. I would really appreciate an opportunity to tell my side of the story. And I'd like to come on your show. No reply. No response. But just kept trash talking.
Yeah, that would be great to get both you guys on the line and hash it out.
He's good. He's a good talker. He's got a fast mouth.
Sure. And I actually like him. I mean, I follow him on Twitter.
He's a clever, creative, driven guy. I have absolutely nothing against any part of him except for his incredible hypocrisy. I respect him very much as a creative force. Not only doesn't he respect me, I mean, he goes way beyond that. And that's the puzzling thing. So when you get personal, I pay attention. I admit it. I pay attention.
And what about the Saxon thing? He said that you tried to get them to cover some Saxon songs.
Yeah. I mean, I made I committed the terrible crime of saying, hey, I like this song. Maybe you could do it. He said, well, it's Saxon. That's right. It's Saxon. I really liked it. I think it was Strong Arm of the Law or something like that. Saxon was a good band. He said, we've toured with them. We know them. Okay. But the way he put it, it was like, what in God's name is a producer doing, suggesting to me, Dee Snider, who writes songs, that I should do a song that somebody else wrote? We do it all the time, you know. I've done cover songs with everybody. Motley Crue did Smokin' in the Boys' Room. Poison did Your Mama Don't Dance, top 10 single. You know, so I said it. I recommended it, and he goes nuts. He wanted me to do a Saxon song, for God's sake. That's right, B. I wanted you to do that. And you said no. Did I force you to do it? No, because I can't. If I had the power to keep one of these songs off the album, then I would have had the same power, to force him to put another song on the album. Obviously, I don't have that power as a producer, and I never did, nor do many other producers. The producer is a hired gun. You fire him if you don't like him. In their case, he was pissed because he was forced to work with me by Doug Morris, who was a fairly successful record guy, songwriter, number 2 or 3 guy in the recorded music industry, behind Clive and Ahmet. And he, here's a guy called me up and he said, Tom, you are the only producer I can think of who I think can make a hit with this band. And I really want this band to break in the United States. So, of course, I said yes. And, of course, I knew that my job was to make them a commercial success. Gee, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what I could have done different to satisfy this guy. I mean, the record that he made with the band, the re-record, that he said, that's the way we should have sounded. I don't know who marketed it, but I understood that in the beginning, or after its release, it sold about 25,000 records. Cheap Trick did the same thing. Years later, you're not so good. Well, at the time, you're great. They're selling millions of records. We love you. We love you, Tom. You're the best. And then 20 years later, he didn't get our sound right. He wasn't focused. He barely gave a damn about us. He tried to keep our best songs off the record. Whatever you like. It's just like, I think I'll revise history here a little bit. It's a shame.
You had said in the past that it was a difficult album to make. What did you mean by that?
Well, it was. In terms of the guys didn't at that time, they were not that good with getting the best out of their instruments. They were not their musicianship next to somebody like Cheap Trick was not as good. Cheap Trick was easy to record. They were really good on their instruments, all of them. And Robin was good was an incredible vocalist. Dee was very good in the studio. And he was a good director, and he would say, no, let's do this, I think it should be played like this. And I didn't shut him down. I listened to him. I collaborated. But we had some technical issues that we had to work through, and probably did a whole lot more takes in terms of the musical track than I would have done with other bands. Probably spent more time recording. That's why it was a difficult album. This is kind of the same as Poison. No ringers, but the guys worked hard. They stayed in there. They worked hard, and we worked long, hard hours, and the product was great. And it was an honest record because I didn't bring in this guy and bring in that guy, to substitute for one of the band. I always worked with a band members, regardless of how good or bad they were. That simple.
Which was the hardest part to record? Was it guitars or bass?
Yeah, I think JJ's guitar was the hardest thing to get a really desirable sound on for me, as far as I'm concerned. And he probably wanted it far more distorted and far more gnarly.
But as far as difficult laying down tracks, it was hard to get good, solid guitar tracks as well, beyond the sound?
I honestly don't remember. Okay. I do remember that it was hard to get sounds.
Beyond all the drama, what do you remember most about recording that album? What stood out beyond the drama?
The difficulty I had with
Jeff Workman, the engineer?
Yeah, he was very, very divisive. He was, he's a functional alcoholic, genius engineer, but he was twisted. No pun. I did 3 albums with him, and he did the same thing every album. It took me 3 albums to realize what he was doing. He'd get the leader of the band, the most important guy in the group, and he'd work on him. And he'd say, Werman, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know anything. I'm doing everything. He really doesn't get it. I don't think Dee is gullible enough to have swallowed his line, but he may have turned him against me in the beginning. I don't know. But that was a really difficult thing to overcome, because I'd walk in the studio every day and he would have been running me down.
Right. We had talked about that on the Tooth and Nail. That's where he really did damage, but Stay Hungry was after that, right?
Yes, considerably after that, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
Once again, every band I worked with the exception of one album that Motley did, every band I worked with had their biggest career records with me. Not boasting, stating a fact. I had 23 gold and platinum records. I think that's pretty good. If I was a fake, if I was a fraud, if I was bad, it just wouldn't have happened like that. People obviously liked the records that I made. And if I had done anything else, they may not have liked them, and I would have failed as a producer. This is the way I worked. I think I'm a pretty decent guy in terms of collaboration. A producer is hired to help the band achieve its musical vision, and that's the way I worked. I wasn't a dictator. He can make me out to be one, but I didn't force him to do the Saxon song, did I?
He said he begged for We're Not Gonna Take It, and that also appears on the record as well.
Right. I didn't say, you can't do that. I said, okay, we'll do it. I didn't love it. Yeah, no question about it. I didn't love it.
He did say that you had said when you first came in, I don't touch the board, I don't write, I don't create, I'll just tell you if I like it or not.
Probably. That sounds like something I could have said, because it's true. I'm not an engineer. I'm not technical in any way. I depend on my engineer. I listen to what the band is playing. If I like it, that's fine. Let's use it. Let's go with it. Let's put it down. If I don't like it, I will tell them why and suggest a solution. Say, why don't we try this? And we'll try it. If the band is reasonable, we'll try it. If it works, we'll use it. If it doesn't, we won't. It's very simple. And so, there were plenty of producers at that time who were also engineers. Ron Nevison was a good example, Jimmy Iovine. These were technical guys who were also musical. But I always had a team. I had the producer and the engineer, and it left me free to shut my eyes and listen and come up with ideas. Say, this is good, I like this. Why don't we put a B3 organ in this section? Why don't we have this harmony in this chorus? Why don't we cut the intro in half and extend the beta? This is what producers do. So I liked to do that and be free to just do that. So I told them, I didn't say, hey guys, this is the way I work. First I take a nap, and then I have lunch, and then I get on the phone. I said, this is the way I work. While you may have worked with other producers who are very hands-on, I am not. I just, I told them. I thought that might be a good thing, but Dee apparently didn't think it was. He probably would have thought, if I had come in and said nothing and then produced their record, he would have bad-mouthed me for not telling them that I didn't touch the board. No, instead he bad-mouthed me for telling them exactly how I work when I walked in. What's wrong with that? He must know something that's wrong with that, so he's going to tell me off. The fact that this is even, we're even having this discourse is very odd. I probably should just say, this isn't worth a response. The guy has a problem. Let him deal with it. Not my problem. But I'm not that kind of person. You know, I was bullied badly as an elementary school kid, and I have an issue. I have a problem with injustice. I have a problem with wrong and deceit and, you know, two-faced people like Trump. Strangely enough, I find a lot of similarity between Dee and Trump, now that we've lived through 3 years of this, 3.5 years of this. Anyway, Adam, you got me. That's about all I can say on this subject.
How's your book coming along?
I'm almost done. I've got to write a proposal, a formal book proposal, and get it out to agents. It's a real slog doing a book. You know, if I was fully retired, which I will be soon, I could devote more time to it. But I also must admit I've been playing a lot of golf this season.
Oh, nice.
Because, you know, we were all cooped up for 3 months, literally just staying at home, wearing our daytime pajamas and then getting into our nighttime pajamas. And to get outdoors and take the mask off, smoke a cigar, tell bad jokes, be with your friends. Nice.
Well, when your book comes out, let's do another interview and we'll promote it.
I'd love to. I really enjoy speaking with you, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to try to guess what the hell's behind all this.
Don't